In today's episode, we are discussing the art of delegation. So, delegation, by definition, is the assignment to others of the authority for particular tasks, decisions, and actions. Welcome, Anton.
Thank you.
So, let's talk about this delegation. Why is it crucial for entrepreneurs that they delegate? And this is a follow up from last week's topic, which was work life balance.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I'm terrible at delegation. I'll just put that out there. So, but they do say that often the best teachers are those that teach you something that they're really bad at themselves. So let's hope that's the case. Because interestingly, delegation is one of the key sort of areas that I find a lot of my clients struggle with. They tend to feel like they do stuff better. They can do it more effectively and in less space of time. And I think often that is true. You know, we know our businesses as business owners generally better than most. We've been doing it a long time often. And the reality is, yes, often we will be better and faster and more efficient at doing certain tasks in the business. But that doesn't make it viable or, from a long-term perspective, the right strategy to try and do everything yourself. And the reason, as we've explored in earlier discussions, is that you end up creating a glass ceiling where the business can't grow beyond your capacity. So if you don't have enough hours in the day to do certain things, it means those things are just not going to get done unless you actually start learning how to delegate and to do so in a way that actually looks at the future and not just the immediate needs of the business.
So I know you mentioned that one reason could be that people feel like they can do it better than anyone else. But I want us to explore that a little deeper. Why? What is at the core in terms of why entrepreneurs don't want to delegate? Is it lack of planning? Is it lack of preparation? Or is it just being attached to the business?
Okay, that's a good question. I think a lot of it has to do with time. I know that in my case, for example, I have a very capable writer who assists me with my media work at Fatola, but I also know that in most instances, if I write a certain press release myself or an article, whatever it might be, I'm going to do it a bit quicker than her, even though she's talented and capable. It's just me. It's just that I've been doing it for longer. I kind of know what I want to say. And if I write the release, it's an hour and a half of work. If she does it, it's maybe 4 or 5 hours of work with corrections and guidance and so on. And do I have that amount of time available to delegate to that task? The challenge is that by not doing so, by saying I'll just do it myself because it's quicker and easier, I never empower her to actually take ownership of her role and to learn and to, over time, realize exactly what needs to be said and to do it fast and efficiently. And B, I just end up overburdening myself because now I've got to write press releases that I could quite comfortably be delegating to someone else. So I think there's a couple of reasons, but I think often it is time, but often it's actually, we think it's time. And the reality is that unless you get off the bus at some point and start saying, I can't do everything myself, either I start shedding some tasks, or I'm going to burn out, or I'm actually going to hold the business back like a hamster on a wheel and never progress any further forward. So I really think that delegation is probably one of the most important skills that anyone who with a desire to grow their business has to master.
So just in closing, what is the biggest thing that could happen in your business in terms of the bigger picture if you don't delegate or if you don't make delegation a priority? Just one bigger thing that could happen in your business.
Well, I think probably the biggest thing is that you are going to either go insane because you're doing everything yourself, or you are going to hold the business in a position of kind of treading water where it's not going forward. It's not necessarily going back, but it's not progressing. The eventuality of that is that the business is not going to thrive. It's just not going to grow. On the other side of that coin, learning to delegate, and when I say delegate, I don't mean just telling people to do stuff. I mean actually empowering staff to take ownership of a certain task that you normally would do, and to guide them through the process of delivering successfully on that task. It's an important distinction, because some people assume delegation is just like, can you go and fetch my clothes at the dry cleaners? That's not delegation. That's an order or a request. Delegation is actually saying, I would normally do this work, but I'm trusting you enough as my employee to actually execute this task successfully. And not only am I just going to, and I'm not just going to say do it, I'm going to follow up, and we're going to agree, right, you're going to report back to me on Friday and tell me how the task is going. You're going to take full ownership of the delivery of this task to its ultimate conclusion, whatever that might be. It's quite an important distinction. And I think that's where people find it difficult, because when you delegate stuff, you delegate often quite sensitive tasks or tasks that you've always done yourself. If they go wrong, there's a consequence. But if you don't allow people to make mistakes and learn from them, how are they ever going to progress, and how is your company going to progress? And just a final note on delegation. It doesn't always mean having staff to tell or ask to do certain tasks, because a lot of people are sole entrepreneurs. They don't have a team. But outsourcing certain tasks, non-core functions like, updating your web page or managing your social media or keeping your books, to service providers is a form of delegation. And if you want your business to grow, that's the kind of mindset you have to have.